So a few days have passed now since the senseless and tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, and I wanted to wait a few days before saying anything about it publicly, just to allow some time and space to go by. Sometimes that's better. Oftentimes that's better. I feel a lot of sadness and empathy for his wife, his children, his loved ones, those close to him who are living this up close and personally. I cannot even imagine right now what they must be thinking, feeling, living in the wake of this senseless tragedy. So to them, our love, our empathy, our prayers go out that they may live through this moment in the best way possible given the circumstances. I also feel a lot of sadness for who we are as a country, the United States, that once again we choose violence when it comes to dealing with those with whom we disagree. As advanced and enlightened and civilized as we think we are, we're no better than anybody else at different points of history or even right now when it comes to coexisting and interacting in a fruitful, productive, and loving way with those with whom we disagree. We always choose violence. We're no better than the drug cartels. We're no better than the communists or the Nazis or any other group that we've been told we're better than. We're just like them when it comes to handling disagreement. We choose violence, a complete lack of imagination, creativity, and love when it comes to dealing with those that we have different ideas than. The saddest part of all of this is that we can't even get better because so many of us live in complete denial that this is who we are as a country. We won't even acknowledge that this is who we are. But USA, this is exactly who we are. We need to be better. And this brings me to the gospel that Charlie Kirk dedicated his life to preaching. In many ways, Charlie Kirk is the victim of the message that he put out there, condoning hate, condoning violence, condoning othering, condoning marginalizing people, excluding people. I know a lot of people thought of Charlie Kirk as a Christian and somebody who was out there talking about the way of Jesus. There is nothing about the message of Charlie Kirk that resembles the gospel of Jesus. Let's be very clear. What Charlie Kirk preached and stood for is completely anti-Christ. The gospel of Jesus, the Jesus I read about in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, is completely antithetical to what Charlie Kirk was putting out into the world. The Jesus of those gospels stood with the oppressed, women, the broken, the marginalized, the victims of empire, all the people that Charlie Kirk dedicated his life to vilifying and othering. If Charlie Kirk was alive in Jesus' day, Charlie Kirk would stand with the nationalists and the powerful that hated Jesus for standing with those others, with the foreigner, with the women, with the prisoners. Charlie Kirk dedicated his life to defending this brand of Christian nationalism that is completely anti-Christ. He spent his life distorting the words of Jesus, the loving, empathetical message of Jesus. At one point, Charlie Kirk, talking about empathy, he said he hated the word, that it was some made-up word created by the New Age movement, completely just showcasing his ignorance of the gospel of Jesus. The Jesus I read about in the Gospels is a living, breathing, walking, talking personification of empathy. One of the definitions of empathy is to be able to put yourself in another's place, to feel what they feel, to see what they see, to experience what they experience. That is the Jesus of the Gospels. Coming to live in the world, living with the broken and with the oppressed, eating what they ate, seeing the world through their eyes, living in the world as they were living in the world, dying the way that Jesus died, in solidarity with the broken, with the oppressed, with the victims of empire, as a victim of empire on the cross. Living, breathing personification of empathy. So Charlie, I'm very sad that you passed. And I have empathy for your family. Even though you hate empathy, and you think empathy is stupid, and you think it's a sin, I have empathy for your family, for your wife, for your loved ones. But you do not get to be a martyr for Jesus. You do not get to be a representative for the gospel of Jesus, not while you were alive and not in death. You are not a martyr for Jesus. You're a martyr for the nationalists that hated Jesus. You're a martyr for the people that agree with your version of patriotism, but you're not a martyr for Christ. Christ is way better than you. America, let's be better. American Christians, let's be better. The message of Jesus is way better than anything Charlie Kirk ever said. Charlie Kirk is a victim of his own distorted gospel, condoning violence, condoning hate, condoning othering, all completely anti-Christian ideas. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword. Words of Jesus.